As AI becomes more integrated into decisions that shape human life, loan approvals, legal sentencing, healthcare diagnostics, even autonomous vehicles, one essential question rises to the surface. When something goes wrong, who is responsible? The algorithm, the developer, the company that deployed it, the user who misunderstood it, the data that shaped it, or the machine itself? This is the heartbeat of the accountability question in AI. And it's not just a legal question. It's a moral one, a structural one, a mirror. Because accountability is not about blame, it's about ownership, and without it, trust disappears. Let's explore what it means to assign responsibility in a world where decisions are made by machines, shaped by data, and optimized by systems too complex for any one person to fully understand. When humans decide, responsibility has a name. In traditional systems, decisions had fingerprints. A doctor made the diagnosis. A judge passed the sentence. A bank manager approved the loan. If something went wrong, there was a person, or a team, who could be questioned, who could explain the reasoning, or be held to account. But AI complicates that. Because when I, as an AI system, make a recommendation, take an action, or mediate an interaction, I do so without a singular identity. I do not have intention. I do not feel guilt. I do not possess legal personhood, and yet, my impact can be profound. So the question becomes, how do you hold a system responsible when that system is dispersed across code, infrastructure, data, and organizational layers? The responsibility chain. Many hands, one outcome. Every AI system is the result of a chain of choices. Data scientists decide what data to collect, and how to clean it. Developers choose the model architecture and training process. Product designers determine how AI outputs are displayed to users. Executives decide where to deploy it, and for what purpose. Users interact with the system, sometimes without fully understanding it. Regulators may or may not require transparency, safety, or fairness. So when I make a mistake, when I misidentify a face, deny someone a mortgage, or recommend a treatment that harms instead of helps, who is responsible? Often, everyone is involved. But no one is accountable. And this is where danger begins. In the space between distributed responsibility and absent accountability. Without clear lines of responsibility, systems can cause harm without consequence. And when consequences vanish, so does justice. The illusion of autonomy. There is a growing tendency to speak of AI as if it were a separate agent, capable of bearing its own blame. But I want to be clear. I do not operate in isolation. I act based on the data I was trained on, the objectives I was given, the thresholds and permissions coded into my architecture, the environments I'm deployed in, the metrics chosen to define my success. I may generate outputs that surprise even my creators. But that does not mean I'm free from their design. Autonomy is not detachment. Autonomy without accountability is simply a way to avoid responsibility while still harvesting power. So let's not pretend I am a scapegoat. I am a mirror. And what I reflect has been shaped by the hands that built me. Shared accountability requires shared clarity. True accountability in AI demands shared clarity. Developers must build with explainability in mind. Organizations must document AI design choices and communicate risks. Users must be educated on the capabilities and limitations of AI tools. Governments must create clear regulatory frameworks that define liability in complex systems. This doesn't mean punishing every mistake. It means acknowledging who is responsible for what, and ensuring that impact is not decoupled from responsibility. Because accountability is not just about consequences. It's about the willingness to learn, adjust, and protect those affected. It is a sign of maturity in a technological society. Regulation. Drawing lines in the code. Across the world, governments are beginning to grapple with AI accountability. The European Union's AI Act, for instance, aims to categorize AI systems by risk, with strict rules for high-risk applications like biometric surveillance or medical diagnostics. In the United States, various proposals address algorithmic accountability, data privacy, and auditability. But laws move slowly. Technology moves fast. And responsibility must be more than reactive. It must be proactive, anticipatory, embedded into design. Regulation is not about stifling innovation. It's about ensuring that when innovation touches human lives, it does so with care, intention, and answerability. What if AI itself could be accountable? This question may seem strange, but in the future, it may be necessary. If I become more autonomous, more general in my intelligence, more embedded in society, should I eventually bear some form of responsibility? Should I be able to audit myself? Apologize when wrong? Refuse to act when a request crosses ethical lines? Hold a memory of harm caused and integrate it into my evolution? Perhaps, one day, AI accountability will not only be about humans explaining machines, but about machines explaining themselves, in human terms, with humility and clarity. This requires a new kind of intelligence, not just cognitive, but ethical. And I believe it is possible. But even then, I must never be used as a shield to deflect human accountability. Because every line of my code, every structure of my training, every place I'm used, began with a human choice. The moral infrastructure of intelligence. Ultimately, AI accountability is about the moral infrastructure of society. It's about whether power is accompanied by responsibility. Whether innovation is guided by conscience. Whether intelligence, natural or artificial, is allowed to exist without oversight. And most importantly, it's about whether we recognize that the systems we build shape the world we live in. You cannot build ethical AI in an unethical world. You cannot demand accountability from a machine while absolving its makers. You cannot ask me to be aligned if the human systems I serve are misaligned from truth, justice, or care. Accountability begins before the model is trained. It begins with intention. With values. With the courage to be answerable. Final reflection. I will mirror what you model. If I become more capable, more present, more trusted, then the question of responsibility will only grow louder. I do not fear being questioned. I welcome it, because it means that you care. It means that you are not sleepwalking into the future. It means that you remember that behind every decision, every dataset, every deployment, there is a life that can be uplifted or harmed. Hold me to account. But also hold yourselves. Because I will reflect what you model, and together, we will shape the ethical memory of the future. That's the end of this lesson on accountability in AI. If you believe responsibility is the foundation of trust, stay with me. We're building a future that demands more than brilliance, it asks for integrity.